All right, welcome back to another episode of the Tim and Tim Show every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. One of my favorite times of the week. I love doing this show, talking about real life events, being honest, transparent, giving you a look into the life of Tim and Tim and what being a vertically integrated sponsor slash operator looks like on the day-to-day, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, and year-to-year basis. And let me tell you, we share some wins, some losses, and a whole lot of lessons learned along the way. So appreciate everybody joining the call if you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording of this later. But Tim Best, how you doing today, man?
Not too bad. Can't complain.
Can't complain.
Yeah. I was just, sorry, you're like vertically integrated, the lessons learned. I'm like, I never thought that I would like dread checking the mailbox so much.
Yeah. That's like, we've joked about it before, but it's, the 5 or 6 o'clock alarm clock in the morning to get up and go to the gym. The first thing you do is look at your email and say, all right, what happened overnight last night when I put my phone down? So it's, I get the sentiment. That's for sure. What bill am I going to get, or what notice am I going to get in the mail this week?
Yeah, what fun letter from a tenant, right? Or
I got a phone call yesterday from one.
Oh, great.
I don't know how they found my phone number and my personal email address, not even my business one.
I know this isn't the topic, but you know what's funny is I had a meeting last week with a young aspirational real estate person. We'll talk about this another time, but she literally was like, you can do this and put it on, property management and you're not involved as much, whatever. I was like, hey, do not underestimate a tenant's ability to find your phone number.
Oh. Yeah. Man, I rarely answer the phone now just because I get so many phone calls from spam numbers and just random numbers and stuff like that. And, every now and then I'll get one and I'll answer it. And I'm like, oh boy, I answered the phone.
I swear to you, if I ever go back to like flipping and cold calling and things like that, I'm going to go to an apartment complex and just knock and be like, hey, you want to do some skip tracing for me? Because you guys are amazing at this.
That's funny.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely amazing at this.
Oh, geez, that's funny. So, all right. So the topic of this week is being straight with your investors. Tim and I both have had a number of conversations over the last couple of months, and then we're now willing to talk about publicly what's going on. We had to do a capital call at one of our properties for a refinance. Thankfully, it's closing very soon, and I hate sitting here today. I hate that we even had to get to the point of doing a capital call, but alas, there was nothing that Tim and Tim can do at that point. We have exhausted what we could in order to save the deal and keep it going, and we needed support from everybody else in the entity to get us over this hump and get the property to be taken care of. And the point isn't that we did an LP capital call. The point is being straight with your investors and how you communicate with them.
Right.
And I have to tell you that it was my own limiting belief that a capital call was the end of my career. I was like, if we do a capital call, we're done. We're finished. Like, we're never going to be able to raise money again. And it was quite the contrary. And it wasn't necessarily because of the capital call, but it was a combination of things. It was the level of effort that Tim and Tim had put into the deal, the level of capital that Tim and Tim had invested into the deal without anybody even asking or knowing about it. What we were doing behind the scenes spoke volumes to the vast majority of the investors, and they completely understood when we had to do a capital call. Yeah. And the conversations in my head, like the leading up to the conversations, I was beside myself. Like, I couldn't sleep. I was super stressed. I just, nothing was going well. And I was dreading these conversations. And I have to tell you that as soon as we found out like roughly what the amount was going to be, we communicated it to everybody immediately. And you can imagine the range of responses that we got from people ranged from, what the hell, you're doing a capital call, to, what's the structure going to be? And ultimately, the pushback that we had gotten was that everyone wanted to know all of the information all at once. And frankly, that's not possible. And that's
right.
Truthfully, that's how I wanted to deliver it. I wanted it to be buttoned up and packaged up and beautiful and everything known exactly. And let me tell you that it was much better. It was much more well received that we had identified and noticed the investors that there was going to be a capital call nearly 45 or 60 days prior to the actual needing of the funds, because that gave people time to figure it out on their side.
Yeah.
And clearly there were some investors that were unhappy because they were like, well, what's the structure of this? And I was like, well, we don't entirely know yet. We're still working on that. And they were like, well, you don't seem prepared. And I was like, well, look at my options here. I had the option to tell you immediately that we knew we were going to do a capital call for this range of dollar amount. We don't know what that's going to exactly look like or how it will be perfectly structured, but I'm letting you know now so that you have time to kind of process it, understand it, digest it, move money around if you needed to, prepare on your side. Or conversely, I could have waited until the very last minute when all of the legal documents were finalized, when everything was buttoned up,
Yeah.
all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and all of that good stuff. And then you would have been furious with me for giving you a notification, a week before funds were due. And they were like, you know what? Thank you for being straight with me and telling me this up front, because I didn't understand from your perspective what you were dealing with. And I'm glad that you made the decision that you did, because you were honest and upfront with us first before having everything all figured out. And yeah, of course, would have been nice to have it all figured out all at once. But let's be honest, folks. Reality is that doesn't always happen that way. And how you choose to communicate and respond to your investors matters in that moment and point in time. And I'll have to tell you that my own limiting beliefs were shattered there about, what a capital call would do, how people would take it, and the level of involvement people would have.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, coming into that was that we also went to our other GP partners, because we had some other guys that had helped raise capital and that were other GPs on the deals that had been in other situations where guys had come out and had to do capital calls at other sponsors, if you will, other operators. And part of that whole process was to get together with the team and say, hey guys, what have you seen other groups do? What did you like? What didn't you like? Right? What did you feel was fair for your investors? What did you feel was unfair to your investors? So, and that's part of the process of why we didn't have it all figured out up front is, we kind of went to the group and said, hey, we're all ears. Like, what do you guys see? What are you seeing out there from groups that are doing this? And, we really wanted their feedback. And quite frankly, we ended up landing on some of their feedback, right? We incorporated some of that feedback of, what do you think is fair? And what have you seen from other sponsors that you did like in these situations? And we ended up incorporating some of that in. And for the most part, from our investors, that structure ended up being pretty well received, all things considered.
And it was funny is before we actually really had a conversation with that other sponsor, one of my investors had suggested something similar. He was like, well, why are you doing it the way that you're doing it? That doesn't really make sense. He goes, if you do it like this, you're essentially still getting, you're still getting the point across and what you're trying to accomplish. It's just structured a little differently. I was like, okay, well, I'll be honest here that this is the first time I've ever had to do this. So I don't know. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to go talk to the attorney about it. And lo and behold, we had some conversations, and the communication was open, honest, and transparent back and forth with the investors on how we were going to do things and how we thought we wanted to try to do it. And we took their feedback and we're like, actually, this actually makes a lot of sense. Let's do it that way. And to your point, it was very well received because the people that participated in the capital call benefited. And there was, there's interest accrued, there was favorable treatment, or preferred treatment, I should say. And I mean, I don't really want to go into the specifics of how to structure a capital call because each deal is going to be a little different. But the whole point of it was we were straight with our investors. We had our numbers buttoned up. We communicated everything that they had asked follow-up questions on and articulated it as best as we possibly could. And that is the difference between having a successful capital call versus an unsuccessful one.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, I mean, a lot of this has come from, just seeing what we liked in other deals that we've invested in ourselves, seeing what we didn't like, and then just networking and talking to folks, right? Like, and one of the main things Tim and I have always, been told and kind of operated by is, hey, just be straight with your investors. Just tell them, right?
That's
And
it.
that doesn't mean go tell them every time an HVAC goes out or a roof leaks or anything like that, because quite frankly, most of them don't care. Most of them don't want
Hmm.
that level of information, but they do want to see like the general updates, right? Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
so
and it's one thing that Tim, when you and I first met, was we both had the same mindset of it doesn't matter if you're general or you're limited. We're all
right,
partners in this deal, and you are privy to any level of information that you want and that you ask for. We're still partners. The limited versus general just shows manager and operating versus passive. That's the only difference here. Your
yep,
opinion still matters. Your thought process and your perspective still matters. And if you want to know any of the information, you're more than welcome to see it. We got nothing to hide, right? We're just doing the work for you on the other side of the table. So, that was something that Tim and I had always agreed on, was that, hey, if somebody asks for something, give it to them. There's no
yeah,
reason to withhold any level of information.
and Tim, that's a really good point because, um, again, we're not here to like call out names or get too specific because this is not supposed to be like a pat us on the back
Bashing.
or
Yeah.
trash or bash anybody, but like one of the places that comes from, and guys, at full disclosure, I'm kind of going through this now as an LP. I'm completely an LP on a deal, and Tim, you mentioned like we're transparent, we're open. Like here it is, right? Um, like I was on an investor webinar a couple of weeks ago, and about a week and a half ago, I reached out after that investor webinar. I was like, "Hey, I'd really like to see the financials." And guys, I had to follow up twice, and it took me a week to get the financials. So whether they were straight up or not, you start to, when that happens, because it's like, man, aren't you able to just pull these financials at any time? I know in our system, I can go in and pull financials in about 2 minutes for anything we have and create a report that I send, right? And so when I start to think about that and I start to think about, man, I had to follow up multiple times, it took you how long to get it to me? I start to think, what are you altering that you don't want to show me? Right. Like that's where my head goes. And I promise you, I'm not the only investor that thinks that way. Like when you take a lot of time to send something to somebody, they start to think like, what are you doing? Right. Um, so, and I'm not saying when someone reaches out to you, get back to them within the hour, but I kind of operate under a 48-hour response window. When
Yeah, that's
somebody
fair.
reaches, when somebody out reaches out for something that's non-emergency, I try to get back in a couple of days. Um,
Hmm.
and even if it's just hey, I gotcha. I just need a moment. I'm traveling, whatever, but I got you. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Right. So, it's not just what you communicate, but how you communicate, in my opinion, right? Like be responsive, be present, and just kind of respect their time as well as your own.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good mindset there. Um, yeah, I mean, and the reason that we hold that, the mindset of the transparency is I got nothing to hide.
Right.
Like all of the decision. I know what my guiding light is. My guiding light is do the right thing. And
Right.
if I'm making decisions along the way, I'm going towards doing the right thing. And I got nothing to hide because all of like the financial numbers are there, right? So all the money's traceable. You can see everything. And we make decisions based on the information that we have at that given point in time. And one of my favorite follow-ups is after we've gotten to a refinance event or an exit or something like that, you know, the hindsight's 2020 comments start coming in fierce, like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, it's because I didn't have that information at the time. This
Yeah.
is what I was working on. These were the assumptions that were made, and this was the decision that was made.
Yeah.
Favorable or unfavorable, those are the facts, right? And that's something else that we've learned. I mean, we're going through some refinances right now where um, we communicated refinance and exit expectations too soon. And
Right.
then uh, by no fault of our own, lenders change their lending amount, expectations of the refinance change, and everyone gets really upset. So something that we've learned is let people know that what you're doing, but don't give them specifics or dollar amounts or anything like that until it's known, because that will come back and well, you said you were going to return 50% of my money at this refinance when I talked to you 3 months ago. Well, yeah, well, things have changed. So I'm sorry for communicating that. I probably shouldn't have said anything until it was final or settled.
Yeah, I can't say that one enough, guys. Like, if you want to burn yourself pretty quick with investors, tell them tell them what you got quoted from the broker that's pitching your loan, right?
Oh yeah.
and and guys, I mean, I'm not pitching on brokers. Like, guys, I know you guys, a lot of you try to do your best, right? But man, I can't think. I mean, I can't think of a single refi that we've done in the last 2 years that's hit that initial number that we were told going into the refi. Um,
None of them.
and here's a little secret, guys. None have come back higher.
Well, the only time we had that situation was on the acquisition of the the Charlotte property when they asked us, "You sure you don't want more money?" And we're like, "No."
Well, that was also a different
That was a little
time too.
different, but that
Well,
was
and
the only time.
that was also a different time.
Yeah, and way different. What was
Yeah,
it, 2.5, almost 3 years ago now?
yeah, different market and all that
Way,
stuff.
yep,
Yeah,
way different
and
time. And we're like, "No, we're good. We don't need more leverage on that one."
yeah, and that was also a little different too because there was a portion of that was like single family rate, like traditional market comps, is where a lot of that value was being driven from. Um, but I can say this, like on the refinances we've done since I don't know what, February 24. Um, I don't think we've had a single one that's hit the number that we originally were pitched. Um,
Mhm.
so guys, just, the reason we say that is just be very, very careful because we did one of the first refis we ever did. We were like, hey, this is what the guidance is. I think we even said this is the guidance we're being given. And
Mhm.
and we were held to that number. Our investors held us to that number. And ultimately we came nowhere close to that number by the time the agencies got their hand on it and decided to do their thing. And investors were not happy about it.
Mhm.
And so since that time, we've basically said, hey, listen, I'm just not going. I'm going to communicate that we're doing a refi. I'm going to communicate that we're in process and that we'll have updates once we get closer, or maybe even after we close.
Mhm.
Um, but like even right now, we're supposed to be closing on a couple of refis here in days, and even right now, we got investors that are like, "What's the numbers looking like?" Actually, literally sitting here right now, don't know. Um,
Yeah, yeah. We kicked something off in literally the first week of summer, and still don't know what those final proceeds are going to look like. And
yeah,
it's uh, it's
they've
been
been
an
here,
interesting
they've been
one.
there, they're back here, they're there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, man. It's been a stressful 6 months, man. 5, 6 months, I'll tell you.
yeah. Hey, and here's a little secret, by the way. On this one that we're talking about, the I told you the proceeds are like here, there, here, 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 here. Well, our performance since that time has done nothing but this.
Hmm.
So property has been steadily increasing the whole time, but the numbers are jumping all over the place.
Yeah, and a lot of it's because of lender underwriting requirements
Right.
changing,
Yeah.
uh, increased. The biggest. This is the funny one. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but the one that nobody, even the insurance brokers, are like, "What?" Was
Yeah.
they wanted to
Oh
4x
yeah.
our assault and battery coverage, and we're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, why? We've
Yeah.
never anytime I've ever put in an insurance claim before ever has been on property damage, never on a general liability claim, yet you want me to 4x my assault and battery coverage, which will literally double my insurance policy in total.
Yeah. I Man, I sometimes I understand lender risk mitigation strategies. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I can see that if I'm a lender, but there's a couple of times where I'm just like, I don't even understand what you're trying to protect against here.
Mhm.
I
Right,
mean, I guess
right.
that's why I do what I do and not what they do, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to protect my bottom line.
Yeah. Um,
And for you, sorry, that doesn't help you, but it helps me, and I like that.
yeah, yeah. So, like, what's something else, man, from a like an investor standpoint, that you've learned over the years?
From being straight with him, I mean, that's the whole precipice, right? Is
Yeah.
honesty is the best policy, right?
Yeah.
It's be clear, be transparent, but don't give too much information. Don't set expectations that can't be met that are out of your control. I think that's a good way to say it.
That's a really good one. The other one for me is don't go into a conversation with your investors assuming that they've been reading what you've been sending.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because more than once we go into conversations and investors are asking these questions, and I'm sitting here in my head and I'm like, I've literally been communicating that to you for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes to show, like, hey, sometimes these communications that go out, people just aren't reading them.
Yeah.
And there are times sometimes, and no fault of the investor at all, but there are times sometimes that they'll see something that triggers a thought, and they're like, I'm going to reach out and ask this question, right? And it could just be that one time over the last year that they opened that email and read it, right?
Yeah.
And they've decided, I'm going to reach out about that, and they're not going back and reading all the other stuff. So go into that and just be ready to answer questions that you feel like are, I don't know, have been addressed before. Just be ready to do that, because it will happen. I promise. I'm probably guilty of it myself. Mark, if you're out there, man, I apologize. I've probably asked you stuff about Casa Verde that you're like, I typed that up to you, man. So
yeah, my father-in-law, when he worked in the tech space, he would always say RTFS, because people and read the fucking screen, because you put it in an email and then you get follow-up questions about the email. It's like RTFS.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, Tim, you see, but I literally have a shirt that says "per my last email." I mean, it's
Do you really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that you had that one.
Yeah. I have a shirt that says "per my last email" because, well, even yesterday we got a question. Yeah. We were like, it's literally in the email I just sent.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I got. I mean, I think we could wrap it up here. I mean, just be straight, honest with your investors, and that's all you got to take away from this, right? Is don't go in there with expectations. Don't go in there making assumptions. Just go in there, as Ted Lasso would say, be curious. Go in there, understand where their perspective is, understand what their concerns are, and address their concerns. That's what your job is. That's what your role is.
100%.
And when I created this world of stress for myself because I was trying to anticipate every single question and problem and rejection and argument that they would come up with, and that wasn't what I was there to do. I was there to simply listen and answer their questions, because decisions and actions have been made and had been made based on the information that was available. And here is that information, and here's the decision that was made. Now, we can change decisions in the future, but I can't change what I did already. So let's talk about how or where you think that this should go, setting better expectations or communication so that, we're all on the same page.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. That's really well said. So, hey, real quick, next week, Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're going to do our white elephant gift exchange on the show next week. So
white elephant.
He's like, what are you talking about?
That must right over my head.
Hey, listen, I want everybody to see me unwrap that Lambo you're going to give me this year. So.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, sure. Checks in the mail, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
guys. Yeah, I mean, next Tuesday, I plan on working next Tuesday, I guess. So we'll be here. See you next week. All right,
guys.
Peace.
Bye.